like, why'd you get a cat? Like, I'm not a cat person. Like, not to come over your house and see your cat. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Big Dane podcast. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend, especially with going green on Friday. That's what's up, although it's kind of frightening too because I honestly didn't think we would go green so soon. Just from looking back from March and trying to look forward, it's like, when is this going to happen? So, kind of cool, but kind of interesting. It doesn't mean you should be doing all of that, but hey, this is where we're at, and we'll just see what happens. But, yeah, just wanted to provide you with some updates and just making sure you understand all the links that I have for you guys. So you can visit my website for literally every single link that I have there. So Instagram, Facebook, you want to check out my coffee account for that exclusive content that I've been talking about. Yeah. I mean, come on. And then, of course, Google Podcasts, iTunes/Apple Podcasts, the same thing, and Spotify, of course. So, again, if you're trying to find me or you're not really sure, I'd say the first thing to do, go to the website and you can see it at the top there if you're on your desktop. If you're on your mobile phone, what I would do there is just you click those three drop down little dashes and that'll open up to the icons at the bottom, or you can just go straight to podcast and subscribe from there. So many different ways, but just wanted to reiterate and share the information. And before we get into the topic, which is going to be in like 30 seconds, I do not have any updates on my walks. I think that's starting to just become a little blah. Yeah. But so nothing, crazy happening. Haven't really seen anything. Just people being people. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we are going to get into pets. Yeah, I know you've been waiting for it. And recently I shared a picture of my boyfriend's cat sitting on my lap while I was trying to work. And it made me think, I'm like, this would be a fun way to get your pets involved on an episode and just kind of chat about it and all that jazz. So first off, something that came to mind for me, like it was probably last month or something, and Matt and I were having a conversation. It was after dinner, and I don't remember the context of like what we were talking about, but I said bunny rabbit. And then I stopped myself. I was like, why did I just say that? I literally never say bunny rabbit. I either am going to say a rabbit or I'm going to say like a little baby bunny or. And then it made me think a little bit further because I thought, why do we say two of the same meanings for an animal, right? We have bunny rabbit, and then we thought of, because then I'm like, well, what other pets or animals do we say this for, right? I mean, there's really not that many. But we say, well, sometimes, not everyone, but maybe a puppy dog or a kitty cat, right? And then I thought, this is so strange. Why do we do that? Like, where did that really stem from? And I think what I'll do, I can dive into that on another episode and just maybe just kind of search for the origins of this or, a little bit of that history so I can get you guys ready for trivia, whenever that is. But it was just interesting. It's funny how doing this podcast and you start thinking of random things. I mean, and this is a random, hodgepodge of topics. Yeah. So I'm like, I need to write this down immediately to share with you guys because I thought it was just so silly. Like, because you think of other pets, or not even pets, animals, like, a giraffe, like, we don't say like calf giraffe, like, because that's actually the baby name for giraffe is a calf. Anywho, we can get into that another time. But yeah, I'll start off for you guys what I grew up with, and that was a cat. Her name was Garfield, and we had gotten her from our neighbors down the street in the corner. And she was just, we actually thought it was a boy, but my mom and I were going for a walk, and this cat kept following us. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, it's so cute. And it was such a little baby, a little kitten. And I was only 5 or 6. So, since we knew the neighbors and my mom was friends with the woman. And yeah, she's like, yeah, you can take a kitten. And before you know it, we were bringing this kitten home, and being that little, you don't really know what to do. So a lot of the work, came from my mom with like changing the litter box and things like that. But I honestly I can't remember though when we were little, my brother and I, that we asked for a pet. I don't really recall. And I do remember one time where we found this frog in the creek in our backyard, but my dad was like having a fit, so he didn't want to have it in the house. um, but yeah, it never crossed our minds, and up until that point, like, oh, can we bring this cat home? And I think my mom and dad were okay with it because it's not, having a cat isn't as much work as having a dog. And at the time, my mom still had her mom living, so it was just like lots to take care of. And so I don't think she wanted something that's gonna take up so much time and energy, especially with my brother and I being so young and trying to learn how to take care of an animal. So then Scott ended up naming her Garfield, and then we realized, we took her to the vet and we're like, oh, it's actually a girl. So we're like, fuck, we just called it Garfield. So fuck. Can't really change her name now. So sometimes we would joke around, like, yeah, Mrs. Garfield or Miss Garfield, right? So just kind of interesting things that we did. But I think my cat was like so used to being outside that, looking back, having her inside like that quickly all the time, I don't know if it was such a good idea, because I'll tell you that she was kind of a bitch cat. Yeah. I mean, while she would sleep at the end of my bed with me all the time, it was kind of like a hate love relationship, really. But then like she would just randomly like attack your leg, or and like I don't know what to do because I'm only 6 years old. And so yeah, so just an interesting time with Garfield, and she lived for 20 years. Yeah, seriously, that's a fact. And by the time that she got sick because her kidneys were failing, I was already out of the house and living in Conshy for that first time, like I always share with you guys. But so it wasn't, it was hard for sure, because you've had that pet for a long time. Um, but my parents had taken her to the vet and they had to just put her down. So yeah, by that time it was tough not to have her. And then just going back to my parents' house, it just felt like every time, especially, when she first passed, that, you're waiting for your pet to come out that you've had for literally almost your entire life. So it was just a tough time for that point. But I honestly was glad that I was out of the house already at that point and didn't have to like keep thinking about it. And I know maybe some people it sounds silly, like, oh, you're getting so upset about a pet, but you gotta think about we get attached to them, It's like it becomes your child. So anyway, getting a little deep there, but I'm just chatting with you, yeah. So I think though what scared me, and now I'm just gonna get into dogs a little bit. I would always be scared of my godfather's dog. He was this giant golden retriever, and every time we saw him, it was like so hyper, and I was so scared. And yeah, this was when I was still like pretty little, so this giant dog is like towering over you, and you're like, what? And just trying to jump on me. And I feel like maybe it kind of stemmed from there too, that I wasn't like that big of a fan of dogs. Um, and another time, I think this was traumatizing or almost traumatizing. I was petting one of my parents' friends' dogs and he was eating. I think this was another golden retriever. Seems to be the trend back then, right? So he was eating his food and like I didn't know any better and I tried to pet the dog and then he like almost like bit my hand and I was like, oh my god, like inside, and like nothing happened, but I was like so frightened that this dog was about to just like bite my hand off, and that wouldn't have been a pretty picture. No. I will say though, speaking about getting bit, this was the tail end when I first lived here in Conshy, and I was walking outside and going for a jog, I think, or a walk on the trail, and literally just walking on the sidewalk back on East Hector, and this woman and her dog, it was a poodle, and mind you, I don't like poodles. No. I don't. I haven't had really good experiences with poodles, and to me they just don't look that cool or pretty. But hey, I'm just being honest. So if you think that's mean, then fine. And I hope I didn't lose any listeners. If all my listeners were poodles, then shit. But so I'm walking just normally. So now I'm approaching, about to cross, literally minding my own business. I'm not like doing anything weird. I'm not getting like, oh my god, I'm passing a dog. Like, what do I do? Like, no. Like, come on. So before you know it, I get bit in the ass by this poodle. Yeah. I couldn't believe it either. And I'm like, he just had to stop, and I'm like, did that just happen? So that was just another whole ordeal with the poodle, and I had to like exchange numbers with this person and make sure like nothing was gonna happen to me, and making sure that the poodle was up to date on the shots and things like that. So that's just another story that we don't need to get into. But yeah, I was just like, seriously, I just got bit in the ass. And it didn't break the skin, but there was definitely marks on my left butt cheek. Yeah. That you could see something just happened. So that's been my experiences with dogs. So how about you? Do you have something traumatizing you want to share, or maybe something silly that happened to you with a dog or a cat or whatever? But on another note, so since my brother and I grew up with a cat, like we never had a dog, so we never had that experience. And so now it's probably been maybe like four years ago or something, and my brother and his wife got a dog. Yeah. And I was shocked because I know my brother obviously so well that I thought he is not getting a dog because I'm just thinking how his personality is with pets, and he's just not a big pet person, you know? And it's like as you get older, you just kind of realize these things, like, because you get surrounded, when you're younger and you go to your friend's house and things like that, and like, oh, a little dog, or whatever. And but then you don't know if you're a dog person, you're a cat person, or you like pets. Like, you're still trying to figure it all out. So now, he's an adult, he's married and everything. And I thought, holy shit, I cannot believe they're getting a dog. But on the other side, like, my sister-in-law, she grew up with a dog. So like she wanted to have her own dog and have that experience, and have that experience with my brother. So I actually, are you ready? I named their dog. So if you're guessing some names like Fido or Max or Frederick or Spaz, I came up with actually a human name of Sophie. Yeah. So she's this little dachshund, and I think she's part beagle mix, so she's a long dog, right? But like not as tiny as a dachshund. But so I'll just cut to the chase here. But she can really whine a lot, and I think I could be wrong, but I think that kind of comes from the beagle side in her. And we could literally just be sitting there, like watching TV or whatever, and she just starts to cry and whine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Sophie, shut up. And I do love her. Like, she's so cute, but there's times where I'm like, dude, you gotta shut it up, Like, meaning like me talking to Sophie, like, yeah, like come on, girlfriend. And so anyway, I remember my brother, I'm giving him this credit. They took like a video of like Sophie crying, then he like chimes in like that, like, he's kind of like speaking for her, and it's like, Sophie, like, here's Sophie, and then, why is life so hard? And then she's like, meow, 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 and so it's just a trip to see because it's literally spot on. But yeah, so, and I guess at that point, too, like, once I was getting out of Conshy, I was going to get my own place. Um, for a while there, I did want to have a cat of my own because I I really like cats. That's the bottom line here. And while sure, there's all different kinds of cats, meaning like there could be a cat that's more timid than another one, more sociable than another. Absolutely. But when I got my cat, Moo, well, first off, I had to change her name because her name was Angelfish. Like, what the fuck is that, Angelfish? Come on. She was a little black and white tuxedo cat. You're gonna name her Angelfish? Like, what a, like, at least try to do something with the colors and associate that with a name. I mean, that's what I did, right? Moo, it's a cow. So I just remember, now I'm there at the adoption center and I'm getting her. And, it's one thing to talk about it and just say, yeah, I'm going to get a cat and whatever. And then you're finally there doing it. And it's like, shit, this is it. Like, and now I'm driving with her. Well, and now I'm imagining like Mood taking the wheel, like with her little kitty paws, right? But she's in the back and her her little crate, and I'm just, everything's like going through my mind, like, damn, like I'm literally the only one that has to take care of her, or like that is going to be taking care of her, especially with living, alone. And whereas before I was with roommates, and one of my roommates had a cat, and it's like, it's nice to have that like roommate cat. You kind of like get a little feel, you kind of take care of it, but like not really. But this is like, this is all you. Yeah. So it's just like everything's hitting you, and but it's been wonderful. Like she has been awesome. She's so sociable, and that's one of the things that I wanted in a cat, because just knowing like Garfield, like growing up with her, and she was just like a spaz and just like a little bitch. So, and while I loved her dearly, these are the facts. So, Moo, I was just so thrilled that when I was finding all this information about her, that she was in a kitty cafe, and would be surrounded with cats all the time. So I'm like, wow, this is great. And she would be real sociable. So I'm like, this is going to be perfect. So, and she sometimes she like surprised me, but it's just nice to have her like, she could be independent, and then other times it's nice to like cuddle up and I'm like watching TV and she's just hanging out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I like in a cat. And I think people judge even like, ew, like, why did you get a cat? Like, I'm not a cat person. Like, not to come over your house and see your cat. Like, yeah. So, yeah, that's it. I have a cat, and you're gonna have to deal with it. And you can pet my cat. Unless you're allergic, of course, then totally get it. Um, but she just loves being around people. And also, I think, with having a cat, and I think the most time that they really like bug you is when they want to eat. It's like, bitch, please feed me already. Christ. And I feel like every day, like, it gets earlier and earlier for Moo and Lydia. I'll talk about in a second. My boyfriend's cat. But Moo is always the one to start it. So like, if she comes upstairs, I know I'm still working, it's only like 3 o'clock. I'm like, dude, it's only 3 o'clock. Do you even know what time it is? Like, can you get a kitty watch or something? Put a little alarm or something for you, a little meow meow. And then Lydia will come up too, or like she'll be around, like, kind of like, they're like tag teaming, like, yeah, like, let's try to get Dana to feed us now. But I'm like, no, guys, no, it's not time yet. And now it's 4 o'clock, and it's like literally the same thing. Sometimes they're a little bit better with it, and they'll kind of like chill. But then other times it's like, whoa. So, or even if I'm doing a workout and it's getting to like feeding time for like dinner or something, and I can't even do the goddamn workout because Moo's like weaving in between my legs. I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna like I'm nervous at that point because I don't want to hurt her or like step on her by accident. So I'm like trying to do a plank, and then she like goes underneath of me. Then I'm like trying to do another plank and do a push up, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So um, yeah, that's the only time that it's like kind of tricky when you're trying to do these other things and it's just not happening. So, whew. But Lydia, she can be a little skittish sometimes. She was a stray, so Matt, has had her for 4 or 5 years. So her and Moo have been getting so much better with each other. Like the quarantine actually like really helped with them, so it's pretty great. But she is hysterical because when Matt was here too, like, and even generally, she would, if he moved, then she would move with him and like go downstairs and like, oh, she's like a little Pokemon, just like following you around and just being silly. Sometimes it's like funny, like I'll like come down and then not realize like she's behind me, and I look over my shoulder. I'm like, oh my god, like, Jesus, you popping out of nowhere like a ninja. So it's pretty funny the way cats are. And if any of you can attest, like I'm sure probably similar things happen. But yeah, Lydia, she's just like, oh, you're going downstairs? Oh, I'm gonna come too. And as we're speaking about cats, Moo Moo is scratching on the. Ow! Moo! She just scratched me. So, yeah, so it's just like a trip. Like, oh, you're doing that? I'm going to come down with you. Oh, you're going back upstairs? Oh, I'll come with you. And sometimes it's kind of interesting too, because if Matt's going back upstairs and I'll shut the door to like the office room, like where he does all the music, and he'll close it, but then like Lydia's like waiting like for him to open the door. So if I'm like coming up the stairs, I'm like, I'll open it for her so she can like go in there and hang out with him, because she just needs to be by someone's side like 24/7. So it's so cute. And you know, her and Emu are very different, but it's so funny. But yeah, and then with dogs, I mean, I can't really speak for dogs, but I imagine like when you have your normal routine and you know, you're getting up and you got to take them out, and it's kind of like the dog saying like, "Owner, play with me," or "I'll piss on the carpet" when you're not looking. Or like, "Let's go play fetch," and so now you're playing fetch, and you know, you're throwing the ball, and he or she's bringing it back, and then the dog gets distracted or whatever, and then it's just like, "Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel." Kind of like, and Matt will probably hate me for saying this, but kind of like Matt sometimes when I can tell he's like not paying attention, and then I'm like, "Squirrel, squirrel." That gets his attention, right? So, yeah, but that's all fun and games. So, yeah, and I think like, oh, actually, like something funny. There was, I think, a video that we saw on YouTube or something, and the owners, they did like kind of a test where they put like so many random like items on the floor, and if you can imagine a cat doing this and trying to like step over things. And cats are so interesting, like how do they know, like they'll just step in between and not push it over or like make it fall. Like say you set up dominoes or like figurines or like literally like household items, and they'll just like step in between, whereas a dog would be like, "Fuck this, I'm just bulldozing through," like, you know. But so it's just interesting how they're really different. But I mean, bottom line, like these pets, these dogs and cats and whatever other pets that you have, um you know, they give us joy at the end of the day. You could be having the worst day, and you come home and you see your cat or dog or bunny rabbit. And it's just like, wow, like it just makes your day because nothing else matters. And you almost forget like what was bothering you. And you're just so happy to see their face and like just be around them. And so it's pretty great. It's pretty great though what they can do for us, right? Right, Moo Moo? She's staring at me like, "Is it time to eat?" No, Bubs. That's another thing too. A random thought. I feel like I'll call her random things like Bubs, like Boo Boo, or like I will say Moo Moo too. But so I don't know if anyone else like gives your pet a pet name. I know it sounds kind of silly, but it's true. I'll just say like weird things and she'll respond. So yeah, I want to hear about your pets that you have. Maybe it's a frog, maybe it's a little rabbit or a bunny, or maybe a pet pig. Yo, I did see a pet pig at the Conshy Spring Mill Apartments. This was like pre-quarantine. I was walking to the train, and I'm like, holy shit. I thought they like weren't trending, but I guess if they were trending like 5 years ago, now this little, you know, baby pig is now a giant pig, right? So, what's up? But yeah, let me know what kind of pets you have. Love to hear it. If you have a funny story or video you want to share, please do so. All right, so be sure to subscribe. Check out my website. I have all the links for you there, like literally one click to the website, and you can find whatever platform that you're looking for: Google Podcasts, Spotify. Apple, iTunes, all that jazz. Check out that weird exclusive content on my coffee subscription page. And yeah, we'll see you next time. All right, everyone. Bye.